So my name is Youssef BENNANI. I'm from SAP. I'm part of the development organization, the so-called Product and Innovation organization. So my team, I'm leading the Technology Engineering Services team in France. And in the context of today's session, my team and myself have implemented the whole DITA landscape within SAP for product documentation. Obviously, feel free to ask if you have any question. So the session today is to talk about how we integrated DITA Open Toolkit into our whole landscape, knowing that we have built a very large-scale production infrastructure. One number to give here is that we are producing almost more than 60,000 output every day. So the agenda today is to give a little bit some context about what we have in terms of environment within the DITA, in terms of adoption, growth, and also the process and the landscape we have implemented for that. And then we'll deep dive a bit on the production process. So first of all, I will introduce the concept of project map we have implemented to manage our project production lifecycle, and then talk about how we integrate DITA Open Toolkit into our production landscape. I will be taking an example of an advanced feature we have implemented also, which is about peer linking across outputs. And some words about all kind of optimization we have done to the to the infrastructure to scale and mitigate the growth we are dealing with. For the rest of the presentation, when I use the term project, it means really a documentation set for a product shipment, so for a product that we ship to our customers. So in terms of implementation of DITA at SAP, the journey started in 2011, where we have taken a very bold decision to go globally with DITA within the organization. And followed with that, we started some evaluation with the content management system, and the result with that was that we went for XiSoft solution as the leading content management solution on this. And starting 2012, we started all the implementation of all the processes on top of the content management system. We used DITA Open Toolkit, obviously, on this. This was Open Toolkit 1.6. And we start implementing all the production processes and working with in piloting phase with some teams. You can see here the numbers in terms of authors, languages, and so on. And then in 2014-15, we went into kind of incremental growth, where we migrate incrementally a lot of contents coming from some legacy systems, from acquisitions, and obviously we kept growing, about 300 authors and 100 products during this times. And in 2015, we have made a decision to move the rest of our DITA content from legacy system into DITA Landscape. So, namely the whole ERP and Business Suite product, our traditional product line within SAP. And this year we are executing on this decision, and for example we are about having 300 products, 47 languages, and as I mentioned before, 60,000 outputs produced daily. Some numbers about the usage and the adoption. We have an internal community, more than 1,000 CMS users that are registered in the DITA CMS system. In terms of volume, it's quite impressive. Now we are reaching 3 million DITA files in the content management system. We had doubled the volume during the last 2 years. So half of the contents is coming from migration, and half of the content is brand new one that is created from the DITA CMS by the authors themselves. And we have about more than 3,200 projects that already shipped and produced from the DITA CMS. From day-to-day process standpoint, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Our authors works in their day-to-day work within the DITA CMS using Oxygen as authoring tool. Out of this, we are running. We have implemented the paradigm of daily build or build on demand, like on the software side. These DITA builds are pushing automatically produced outputs into various delivery channels. So first important one is our internal preview server that is used by the different communities, either for reviewing or for translator to review their translated outputs, or just for authors to co-create with their development teams. We are pushing also some outputs like CHM or Eclipse, or all the output that needs to be consumed in our software builds. So this goes through our internal repository Nexus. And every hour we are pushing content that needs to be translated, and this does the round trip process from the translation system to the content management system. In terms of landscape, so we have a central infrastructure located in Germany, in Waldorf, with also some impressive numbers here, more than 40 servers to deal with the infrastructure and with this growth, operated by IT teams. We have a central admin team, and the end users have access to this landscape through RDP remote connections. So before going really into the topic, I want just to highlight a bit the landscape we have implemented so far. So you can see also the color coding. Blue means implemented by SAP, and all the yellow part is coming from various vendors we are working with. So on the landscape, we have the backend side on the CMS, with the infrastructure side, with the so-called XML server from Exaisoft that handle the whole document base and the configuration and so on, with the two flavors, the authoring document base and the localization document base. And on the front end, on the CMS client, through image deployed in our RDPs, we have the Exaisoft DITA Eclipse along with Oxygen for authors. We have some backend components as well implemented by Exaisoft. This was a lot of co-work, partnering and co-innovation work with the Exaisoft to deal with the different services we are providing to authors, like the cloning scheduler to deal with the versioning and branching for our contents, for our containers. Image PNG creation automatically, and so on. So I'm not going too much to details here. We have all the plugins that are available in our front-end image for authors. So all the extension developed by Exaisoft available to deal with the contents, like the cloning, the versioning, and so on. We have Acrolinks, Schematron for quality checks used by authors, and we have implemented a lot of Oxygen customization on top of Oxygen to create templates, some rendering, nice rendering features, and to make use of our special, for example, when we link to our ticketing system and so on. We have also implemented some plugins to deal with the production with builds, outputs, and publishing. And this is linked directly to the build environment we have created on top of the CMS. And in the build environment, we have obviously the infrastructure and our DITA build system that manage a kind of life cycle for a given project. And inside each build, when we build a project, we have implemented a so-called DITA Output toolset that is composed from DITA Open Toolkit, from Antenna House for PDF formatting, and a lot of customization on top of DITA Open Toolkit to produce output with branded SAP trans types. So the daily builds or build on demands can be are pushing outputs automatically to various delivery channels, as I described before. And as well here with Exaisoft, we have implemented a kind of protocol to exchange all the validated topics and map in DITA and send them to the translation system to have them translated and back to the CMS to be consumed. So knowing that the CMS is including the whole content, authoring and translation, and the build process on top is building everything for all the languages. So that's my introduction before going into the topic of production. So here I would like to introduce the concept of project map that is implemented to manage the whole project lifecycle. So a project, we have some roles defined within the CMS. A doc lead is the role that deals with defining the configuration of a given project that goes for shipment. It starts with defining a project map, and to do that, we have implemented what we call a project map editor, which is a nice tool integrated with the DITA CMS environment that enable the doc leads to define the whole configuration of project map. What is this about? Project map is a specialized DITA map and include all the attributes of the project. So we define some global settings, like to which delivery channel I would like to publish my outputs, what are the trans type I would like to use for my outputs, what are the profiling attribute I would like to use to do some conditional processing, and so on. And then the doc leads define all the various outputs. For example, I want to build my Eclipse or my HTML5 or my PDF out of this content defined in the CMS. So once this done, this project map is defined for the project, we can kick off and trigger automatically the build process for this given project. So the build process has its own dashboard to monitor the life cycle of the build. So we have the result of the build of the publishing as well, and we can surface all kind of errors coming from DITA Open Toolkit. Could be due to content or due to some wrong manipulation, to have the author getting directly the result of their build, and if is there any problem or errors, to have a possibility to troubleshoot. The build is run in the publishing step automatically, and all the outputs can be available, are made available into the internal preview server for review and validation. So this is our daily cycle. It could be even be executed multiple times during the day if needed for a hot fix or whatever. And knowing that the content itself keep updated, being updated by the authors in the CMS environment. So 2 points to maybe to highlight here. The notion of project map has really been introduced to have one central place to manage the whole life cycle, from definitions to build to publishing and so on. This was really very important. And the second thing is we want to have a ticket-free life cycle. So we don't want to have a team dealing with support. We don't want to have some manual steps. So everything is either available on self-service mode or fully automated. When we create a new project, the build is triggered really automatically. Publishing is triggered based on the information in the project map and so on. So this is an ongoing process. So if I drill a bit on what we are doing on the build itself, the build it's a kind of life cycle with various build steps. So for example, we can fetch so we are fetching the source from the DITA CMS, and then we run the whole compilation step, which is consisting on running parallel compilation of multiple outputs. So we can have up to 2,000 outputs within the same project. So really the parallel compilation is one of our key assets to have performance in place within our build process. And within this orange boxes here, this is where we are running DITA Open Toolkit transformation. Also, it's important to note that the whole build process is based on two things: the content coming from the DITA CMS and the project map itself. That's it. The project map defines the whole configuration of output to be produced. Also define the configuration to which delivery channel an output should be pushed. So it's the build process is self-contained through this notion of project map. So now if I drill a bit more on the DITA Output toolset, what have been done here? So again, we have the orange side and the blue side. So we are relying on DITA Open Toolkit. We are using, as I mentioned before, some cool open source components, some JavaScript components to do some, for basically better user experience using, for example, like Prettify functionality, data tables, and so on. So I don't know in details all the plugins we are using there. So we have a very creative team working on that. And on top, we have implemented a bunch of customizations. So this is what we called our Open Toolkit framework, where we defined a unified behavior of our before we create various trans types on top. So different behavior we have focused on about rendering features. So we introduced some cool objects like data table, interactive image map, and so on. We have implemented as well some conditional processing customizations when it comes to profiling, flagging, and so on. Obviously, some linking behaviors, and our implementation on language support. So including right to left and some requirements there. And on top of this framework, we have implemented a lot of trans types, so with the branded SAP, and with their own customization, so that the doc leads can somehow customize the way they render and publish their components. The whole trans type, so we have around 20, and all the customization properties, more than 100, are exposed in the what I mentioned before, the project map editor, and this is available to the doc leads to compose the way he would like to configure his project. And we have a process to make sure that the whole stack here is passing some acceptance test, because this is automatically pushed to the whole build process once this is fully validated. And quality assurance here is really very key. As you can see, the progression of daily outputs we are producing every day. So during the last 6 months, we almost tripled the number of output we are producing. So quality issue become a real quality problem in our deliveries. So with that, I would like also to highlight one of the advanced feature we have implemented as part of the build process, the so-called output-to-output linking. So it consists of having linking between output of the same collection. So if I have a collection with HTML5 content, and I have my output, different output in my project, I can link between a topic from my project A and within an output in my project to another output produced from the same project or another underlying project. So maybe this is a lot of complex concepts behind, but this is something that was requested a lot by our community. The way we implemented this was basically using, as highlighted in the schema, the pre-processing step within DITA Open Toolkit. So based on the source and the build configuration, we run the pre-processing step on each of the output. We produce some metadata. We somehow compile this metadata within the collection to compose the whole collection metadata. And this information during the compile step and the whole within the DITA-OT pipeline, we do the output-to-output linking resolution based on this. So obviously, if there are questions, I'm available after the session for answering. Another aspect here is to talk about all the optimization we have done within the landscape, and this was really necessary, as you can see the volume. So we introduced the notion of project dependencies. Two main use cases behind this. Okay, 5 minutes. So it's about to have the notion of reuse on project level. So if we have a low-level content, we build it once, and it can be consumed by a lot of various projects. This is very important. We have done some other optimization, like the documentation split. We split the document base into two parts, an authoring part, and that include only the authoring content, and the full document base that includes both authoring and localization. The main purpose here was first performance, and to protect somehow and insulate the authors from performance perspective when we are running backend processes on the production instance. So basically, when we're running translation and builds, this doesn't impact author during their daily work. We have also implemented what we call the notion of delta fetch. this was important to have faster builds, so we don't need to fetch the whole content of the project. For each daily build, we fetch only the delta. With this, for example, we were able to reduce the timing of the build for some monster builds from 7 hours to 1 hour. This was a big achievement. And the last aspect is about delta compilations. So from one build to another, we recompile and produce only the outputs that are impacted by the updated data files. And this has also a lot of gain. We rebuild only the impacted outputs, and we publish only the impacted outputs out of the production. So these are the main one we have implemented. For the last 2 minutes, I would just highlight the following points and learning and takeaways. So in our journey within SAP, I think we have chosen the right strategy. We relying on leading industry solution. The one that I mentioned in my presentation, and going open source was also very, very important for us. And as soon as we can apply this, we are more than happy to go open source. Large volume requires always a lot of optimizations, and this is a must-have activity as long as we grow and deal with the high volume. And this is economy of scale that also needs to happen to reduce the cost of our landscape. We spend a lot of effort to build our internal community. So we have experts on DITA Open Toolkit. We have experts on DITA in general. And we are building a lot of networking and open development environment on this to foster innovations. And also this is important and key for our internal support. The authors keep asking for new incremental innovations, and we need to fulfill this requirement. And the best way is to have a very large community of experts, not located into one team as a bottleneck for the rest of the community. And obviously, the last point is important, to have regular upgrade strategy. So in our landscape, we keep upgrading. So with the CMS, we are currently upgrading to the last version from XISoft 3.4 for the 3. We are currently in the process to upgrade DITA Open Toolkit to 2.4, 2.3, but probably we'll go directly to 2.4 now, and so on. And we would like also now to engage with the external community. From what I have seen today, I think we will definitely contribute into DITA Open Toolkit community. We have to engage here more.
Thank you.
That's it on my side. I don't know if you have questions.
Thank you.